Done by Noon podcast, episode 11. Today, it's the first of our essential reading series, and we're going to talk about our top 3 books.
You're listening to the Done by Noon podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs who want to achieve more by noon than others in a full day. Serial entrepreneur Dave Ruel and his co-host Chris Lopez share the strategies that will help you optimize your productivity, performance, and lifestyle so you can reach new heights in your business and life. So if you're ready to become the most efficient and effective entrepreneur you know, you're in the right place. Welcome to the show.
Hello,
Chris. Does that music make you wanna break dance?
kind of. I'm not gonna lie. I might be dancing in my seat right now while you're dropping that beat.
I can tell.
Yeah,
I can hear it.
a little bit.
How you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Fantastic. We're going to talk about books today.
We are.
I didn't run the ad for the Done by Noon book because it's part of my top 3 books.
Oh, shameless plug.
No, but you guys can get the book free, by the way. donebynoonpodcast.com/free book. Grab a free copy. Be my guest. It's on us. We bought it. You pay for shipping. So, just
You
go
pay for
grab
shipping
it.
too?
But yeah, No, I'm not paying for shipping. Come on, man.
Yeah. Sorry,
I'm generous. Dude, we're generous enough that we print, a few thousand of these books. We give them away to our listeners. But come on, guys, please, got to pay for shit. And it's cost, pretty much cost. So
yes.
Yeah, we're not making money on these. But if you like what we're doing, obviously, maybe you will buy something from us. But that's, it doesn't matter. As long as it helps you guys. And I think, I got to say, I don't know about you, but I'm actually not an avid reader. I don't read that much.
I don't either. I've been going, honestly, I've been from a business standpoint, I don't read a lot of business books. I've been getting a lot into fiction because I'm trying to work on my craft of being able to tell stories and writing and stuff like that. But as far as nonfiction business books, I don't read a lot.
Yeah, I think, when it comes to business, I feel like a lot of people have this pressure to read books. Do you feel that in the business world? It's oh, you got to read books and learn. Personally, I've always learned by doing, watching, doing, experimenting. I learn stuff, from books, but unless I apply it, it's worthless, right? So yeah, it's been I have a shitload of books though. I have a lot of books on my bookshelf. I'm actually standing right next to my bookshelf right now. I'm looking at how many books I actually never read, or it's quite not that many. Well, cover to cover, I think that I can count them literally on 2 hands.
Wow.
And I have I think a couple hundred books. But the way I do it, I don't reread them. I just go to the chapters that are relevant to what I want to know, right? And I usually, when I buy books, I just buy 3 or 4 of them just to see the patterns or the commonalities between methodologies and things like that. So I see okay, yeah, this is pretty much the way they're saying it or they're approaching it, but I just kind of make my own version in some ways, right? This is pretty much really the way the Done by Noon book was born. It was just more than a decade of figuring things out on the productivity side.
Yeah.
What are you? Let's do business books first. What would be your number 1 business book for you?
This is going to seem a little weird. It's one thing that I do is I have a bunch of books that I reread. So because and I'm talking classics, things like Think and Go Rich or How to Meet Friends and Influence People. I reread those books. Psycho-Cybernetics is another one that I reread. I reread those books because I always find or relearn something different every time I pick that up. So I reread those books at least once a year. because those are, as far as I'm concerned, regardless if your business, if it's for business or personal development, those are foundational books in my eyes. But if we're talking about
Yeah.
business, like specifically like for business or productivity or whatever, I think one of the best books that I've read in the past 5 years is Deep Work by Cal Newport. I would
Mm.
I would put that in my top three. I don't know if that's the number one. Like I've got three books that have been pretty influential in terms of me running my business, but
Yeah.
Deep Work I would right now is at the top of my list only because we live in a very distracted society, and kind of like what the author says in that book, like the ability to focus and to be able to do
Mhm.
difficult tasks and do it with speed, accuracy, and excellence is going to be a huge skill going forward,
Yeah. I
in
think so.
our industry or in any industry. So I think Deep Work is essential reading for any business person.
Yeah, I
Have you
didn't
read it?
read it cover to cover. That's that. Yeah, but not the full book. There's a lot. I think I went directly to like the focus stuff,
Yeah.
and like that. Like that's the thing. I feel like a book, has one point that they want to put across, and then obviously like there's different tactics and things like that. But I think it's understanding the essence of what the book is saying and saying like how can I apply it within my own style,
Yeah.
to my life, and like in the Dunbarton book, I talk about a lot about focus. I actually quote Cal Newport for in the book regarding focus. But you're right, like the ability in a world that is where everybody's constantly distracted, the ability to focus is going to be such a huge advantage, not only for entrepreneurs but also for workers. And you're going to see a lot of these business books actually become highly, um, I would say, influential and useful for people in the workplace now, because I think this you're going to come to a point where you have a lot more responsibilities to take, like at work. The days where leadership, where you had a boss who would tell you what to do and micromanagement, these days are going away fast.
Yeah.
People like businesses are going to come towards, to realize that we need more self leadership and we need more entrepreneurship, within the businesses. I think these types of books, or beyond the book, I think these type of ways of approaching productivity, of approaching work will be better, will serve a lot more people, not just entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, absolutely. I think that book is, it crosses many boundaries in terms of the type of people it can connect with.
Yeah, I
I
think that
I've made all my
sorry, go ahead,
all
Kurt.
my kids read it. So from my 15-year-old, like, yeah, so from my 15-year-old, my 17-year-old, and then AJ, my 22-year-old, like they've all read it and really tried to get them to internalize the concepts in it, because it is going to be important and it's going to affect them specifically.
Well, especially with the creative revolution that's happening. I talk a lot about it in the Done by Noon book, but like the Done by Noon book, if you're a creative type, like that's highly applicable. Is that you when I mean, especially when you have like the type of work that's going to be highly regarded in the near future, well, right now and in the near future, is with the rise of automation and of systematic labor, is going to be your ability to focus and harness your creativity.
Yes.
And to do that, if you can't focus, like you can't really exploit that creative side. So I think we're seeing that now in schools, for example, where I don't know about for you guys in Ontario. I know you've been homeschooling and everything, so it might not be relevant. But here in the public school system in New Brunswick, for example, starting grade 8, in the 8th grade, they're going to start. They're going to have like I think half of the classes at school. So a lot of them are going to be online, and the students are going to have to make their own schedules. They're going to have to build their own, build their own strategies to learn, and they're going to it's going to responsibilize a lot of these students, right? Like
For
that, I think
sure.
it's going to make them more ready for the real world. I think it's a great thing. There's parents that are up in arms, saying, "Oh my God, like like feeling like their kids need to be micromanaged all the time." If I had, like, honestly, I would have been more interested in school if I had that type of setup
Yeah,
growing up.
no, I think I would as well, because then you're given it's self responsibility, right? Like we all.
Yeah.
not to get
Self leadership.
we're not going to talk about the education system and how antiquated it was and it is, and the whole reason why school is set up the way it is. But in the end, especially with the way the workforce is evolving right now, you need autonomous workers. You need people that can manage themselves and know how to do that. So I think I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I knew, especially with workers too. Like how many people, like back to the pandemic, who started to work from home and said, like, I never thought I would be as that productive, right, at home. And most people, they see an increase in productivity. So that shows you that the way we've been working for years in the business context, or with employees, or we've been treating employees, does not work. You need now to empower, your workforce. You need to empower people. You got to treat them as adults who can make their own decisions and are not dumb. You know what I mean? I think that's a big problem in the workplace. Like, trust people, trust your people to make the right decisions. And I think that that's going to come like with managing tasks, managing time, and managing yourself. Managing yourself first, and creating that what books like Deep Work, for example, praise. So that's why it's foundational for I think society in general.
Yeah, especially now.
Yeah, that's a good book. What would be another book?
One of my favorite ones is it's an older one. I first read it, I read it when it first came out. I think it was 2008, but it's by marketing guru Seth Godin. It's called Tribes. I like Tribes. Every time I read Tribes, it makes me want to go above and beyond for the people that I'm trying to serve. So I think it's a great, for me, it was a great mindset book. And that was the whole reason, or part of what helped motivate me to want to become a leader amongst the people that I choose to serve.
I like it. See, like Tribes is one of the books that's on my bookshelf and I haven't read.
Really?
It's there with my Seth Godin collection. I get Purple Cow. What did I got? Linchpin.
I got that. Yeah.
Vicarious Deception and Tribes. And We Are All Weird. I like this one.
Yeah. I have them all. I don't want to say I'm a Seth Godin fanboy, but I really like his work. But see, the thing with the way he writes is that it's very principles based. It's not tactics based. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't give you a lot in terms of do this, but he gives you the big picture of things and how to think.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're short books too. These books are super short.
You read in an afternoon.
Yeah, it's an easy read. I like Seth too. That's awesome. What would be your third one?
My third one would be Essentialism by Greg McKeown.
Yes.
That one, and it's funny because there were two books at that time that came out. There was The One Thing and there was Essentialism. And I had read them both, but it was Essentialism that spoke to me the most. So I really like that one. And that was part of the evolution of me turning my business into, we talked about this in the previous episode about running a lean business and being purposefully lean. And that was, Essentialism was one of the things that, or one of the books that was foundational in me basically leaning out my life and my body and my business. So I applied it all around. So those are my top three.
It's nice. It's one of my favorite books too. I like it. And that's the kind of book you can easily browse and like you don't need to read it like cover to cover.
No, not at all. Yeah.
I think what I realized, that the only books that I read cover to cover are like novels. Like I like business novels and I like biographies.
Oh yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah. So business novel, for example, one that I really like is Built to Sell.
Nice.
So what's the author? That's John Warrell. And it's a short novel, and it's about pretty much. It's fun because it's all about building processes. So it's about building. It's an agency owner, so it's a cool little book, and that's a book that I get like mentorship students to read when they have they have a service business or coaching or any type of service business, and I like. Can you build a 5-step process out of what you're doing to increase your prices, but also like productize, your offering?
Yep.
And it's a perfect example. It's a marketing agency, and that relies on, a handful of high ticket clients, and they realize that they're at the mercy of, of that. And the guy wants to sell the company because he's sick and tired of the company and being reactive and having just to serve a handful of big clients. And he meets that consultant. And the consultant says, you can't sell the business. Like it's an unsellable business. So he's like, oh my gosh. So what do I do? So he shows them the process to actually start niching more and starting niching and building a 5-step process for his business, for the one thing that he want to keep for his business, and building a 5-step process that's duplicatable. And eventually, like, he builds that business where he builds like franchises and things like that. But I'm not going to tell you all the story. It's a short read, but it, like, for anyone who's looking to build more standard processes or a standard offering in their business that are a little bit all over the place. I'm talking, agency owners, marketers, people like that. That's a great book to read. So I love it. Build to Sell, because a lot of people just can't sell their businesses,
Yeah.
because they are their businesses. So it actually shows you how to remove yourself from the process in some ways and build a product out of your services. So it's fantastic. I really like that book. I recommend it a lot. It's one of my favorite ones.
Dave, whenever I think of you, you're the systems and processes guys. Like, for me, after speaking to you and knowing you for so long, you are a genius at building systems. So any type of book that you recommend in terms of building systems and processes and stuff like that, I'm all in. I've never read Build to Sell, so I'm going to pick that up, because I like the idea that it's a novel as well. So I think that's
yes.
That's cool.
I like the Patrick Lencioni's business novels as well.
Okay.
Which one? So yeah, there's The Go Giver. That's really powerful. That I really
Oh yeah,
like.
of course. Yeah.
Getting Naked is cool too. I really like Getting Naked. I really like Getting Naked.
That's a soundbite right there.
I know. That's gonna go on the quote card.
Soundbite with no context. I really like
Yeah.
Naked.
I really like. I know, but it's good. It's about that like small. It's like two companies, two agencies, and they like there's a big one and a small one, and it shows really like how the proximity of the advantage of a small business regarding how they can treat their customers, like the really really strategic advantage they can get from that. And I really and it really compares both worlds. And anyway, it's a powerful read for any small business owners who think that they don't have like stand a chance next to bigger companies. But it makes you realize that actually you do have an edge when you're small, and you do have an edge of proximity, of talking to your customers, of understanding them. And I think they're, yeah, Uriel Kim says that all the times, like, the big power is like to scale the unscalable, right? It's doing more of the high touch things. And that's what a company does that. So I really like Lencioni's. His writing style is great too.
Nice. Great. I just wrote that down.
Yeah. So any novels I really like. What else?
Well, you mentioned biographies. Like, what are some of the biographies that have been really impactful in your business career and just in general that have impacted you?
I read The Empire State of Mind, like the Jay-Z unauthorized biography.
Oh, yeah,
I really like that. Yeah, I really like this one. Who else did I read? I want to make sure. Let me write the book. Who did I read? The Richard Branson story is always fun, Who did I read again? Trying to go through. Oh, I need to. Oh, yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger. His biography is awesome.
Oh yeah,
I really like that.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a big book though, but that's the thing. Like, I couldn't go through like cover to cover. I don't have the attention for that. But it's a good book. I read. It's fun to read. Like, that level of people. There's some other ones that I haven't read. I want to read like the one from Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama. Did you read it? I'm pretty sure. Roseanne probably read it, right?
The Michelle. No, you know what? We haven't.
No.
Yeah, no, we haven't read the Michelle Obama book. I know Roseanne, my wife, has read. I think the Oprah book she read a while ago.
Yeah.
In terms of biographies, one that I really like is the Andre Agassi one. That one was incredible. You can extract a lot of lessons from that in terms of work ethic, and it was entertaining as well. But no, we haven't read the Michelle Obama one.
I'm trying to like. There's also like a lot of books like that are not like biographies, but talk a lot about like their own ways of doing things, like personal examples. How things work. But when I wrote Done by Noon, like I really wanted to put a lot of personal examples with it because I feel like that's more relatable. Like I relate to that stuff. Like I
Yeah.
relate to someone who is going to say like, "Oh, I did this," and that's through their own context. But you're like, "Yeah, I kind of feel the same way." Right.
Yep.
So you read Chris Gillibo?
I do. I do. You know what? I read his Art of Nonconformity when it first came out, and that was
Oh, yes, that's the one.
yeah. That was I think that was the very first book that he came out with, and then I don't think I've
Yes.
read any of his other ones. I know that he came up with like $100 Startup was one of them, and then
Yeah, I didn't really like this one. It was just like a little bit too
but I actually met
businessy,
him when
like
he came to
basic. But
Toronto
the
when he
art
did
of
a book
non
tour. Pretty cool guy.
Yeah, I never met Chris.
Yeah.
Everybody has something good to say about it. But the art of nonconformity for me, like I read it actually before I started my first business,
Oh, really?
and that was at a time where I was kind of when I was like trying to figure myself out, as like what do I want to do with my life? I felt so fucking different than most young dudes. I don't know, like I felt like I just felt different, and I feel like I didn't feel the mold. And when I read The Art of Nonconformity, I was like, this is exactly what I think.
Yeah,
Like
this is
this,
me.
like this guy, this guy read my mind and my views of, and they were at the time they were basic views on things, right?
Yeah.
On life, on the system, on things like that. I would say uneducated views because they're like, knowing, now having business for a long time and having a family, things like that. I mean, it just changes your perspective. But at that time, it made an impact. I was like, that's so great. It's just, and it's basic stuff. It was breakthrough at the time for me, but like it's basic stuff, but that's powerful. I really liked it. Yeah,
Well,
it's funny
it
that
was breakthrough. It was breakthrough when it came out. I think Chris Gillow and Tim Ferriss both came out around the same time. Did they not? Because I remember,
did.
and I remember when I was first starting my business, I was still very much of the mindset. Like I wasn't like you, where I kind of realized where I was different. I was like you. For me, it changed my mind about the way things could be done because I had come
Yes,
from a very traditional background where you get a job, you get paid for it, you get benefits, you do this, you do that. You like starting a business was never on my radar until I realized that I had a problem with authority. And so after reading Chris Gilbo and reading Tim Ferriss, The 4 Hour Work Week, that completely changed my mind and I started to realize, okay, this is what I'm about. This is what I want to do. So yeah, those two books were formative in my early years as an entrepreneur because I realized, you know what, I can leverage the internet and do this on my own.
I agree. I really like that too. I just loved it too. It's funny that that's one of your books. I think I'm looking at my shelf right now. It's funny because I'm recording this and I'm looking at my shelf, and I think I I lent it to someone and didn't get back to me, but I don't know who. Because that I used to hoard. I used to hoard this book around. I was like, especially young entrepreneurs, like read
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I remember I had an intern once. I had an intern at the business. Like he was he came in from college. So he was I knew the guy who was in charge of the co-op program at the college in town, and he's like, yeah, you need someone. It's like, it's free labor. It's like, yeah, okay, well, good, free labor. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And it was a kid from my hometown, but his skill set was just not like to the level that I needed him to be. So he was up and coming. He had, it was decent, but I needed more, right? So I actually remember I was like, listen, it's like that's just not going to work. Like, there's no way you can learn like what you were supposed to do here, like to do it at the level that I want to. However, I want you to improve and get better, and I want you to see like if entrepreneurship is where you should go, or if you're meant for something else, right? And I remember the first book I gave him was The Art of Nonconformity. And I think he was not a nonconformist. I think he was more traditional guy. So it's like, like, it's fine. Like, like don't waste years of your life trying to build a business when you're not going to be happy. If you
Right.
need more stability, perfect. Yeah. So I get him to read a lot of different personal development books and stuff. And yeah, he was just like, he was just reading. He was happy speaking shit for a couple of months. He had to read books and understand things and witness. And I gave him like, I was like, yeah, and I'll make you pass your internship. No problem. I'll say good reviews. But yeah, uh, that's funny. But they see that this is the part where, we show like the power of like how a diploma is not going to make who you are as a worker. You know what I mean? The
Not at
kid
all.
technically he was out of college, but his technical skills were subpar. So, but he had a great attitude, great kid, smart too. It's just like, hey, your skills don't match the demand of the work, of the workplace now. So there's
Yeah.
that. Another book is someone having a party
You know what? So my it's never a dull moment. The office that I rent here in Costa Rica is a real estate office, and it's right beside a restaurant. And the restaurant is open for business,
love
and
it.
they do this at 11, like at this time every day. So I apologize for that. Um,
Well, that's an interlude. That's perfect. Dude, who can say that? You know what I mean? By the way, your audio is really good right now.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure exactly what happened with the cable. Maybe some dust needed to come out, but like it's all the static's gone, so I'm very pleased. But then, lo and behold, the static is all gone, and now we have salsa music in the background. It's fantastic.
Bam, we're winning. A couple of the books. Yeah, so back to the books that I really like the books with a lot of personal references. One was Delivering Happiness from Tony Hsieh,
Yeah.
former CEO of Zappos.
Yep.
I think he was very like when it comes to treating customers with a personal touch. He really paved the way to a lot of businesses for a lot of
Absolutely.
businesses, and they were really like they were so. I mean, they were the first ones to really do like go above. I feel like on a grand scale, go above and beyond, and within I would say the internet era to go above and beyond to for their customers. I think now it's kind of people expect that. You know what I mean? If you don't, or at least if you don't do it, you're missing out. But Tony Hsieh, like the way that was ingrained into the culture of his company,
Yep.
I just loved it, man. And for me, that book really showed me like, and me wanting to run a small business, even when Bioptimizers was I was involved with Bioptimizers, and we had like 16 employees. I really wanted it to be like something where we can be close to our customers, talk to them to the best of our capacities. Obviously we were not in a position to hire like people full time just for that yet, but I really wanted to build something that got what I could do. I'm trying to do the same with Epic. I mean, I'm not trying. I'm doing the same with Epic, where I'm trying to have as much high touch, as much high touch as I can. For example, selling cards, doing little personal videos to some of our repeat customers, for example. So, you might have received something from me, a little note, or I mean, I try to as much as I can to scale the unscalable in some ways,
Yep.
like Yuri said. So,
Yeah.
and that book opened my eyes for that. It was like, yeah, this is the way business should be done. I think the more I go, like I'm getting a lot more. It's like I like social entrepreneurship a lot more now.
Me
Like
too.
something coming from, when you start. I feel like when you start a business, you have that. You start it for yourself. Like you want your freedom. You want your time, freedom of time. You want freedom of creation and financial freedom. But when you reach that, I think you go into a more impact, and you realize that there's so much that can be done through social entrepreneurship. And it does not need to be like, I think that the people, like, especially in America, people are scared of the word socialism, right? And it's not socialism. It's ingraining that into your community, and people do that. We talked about tribes, but you can do it on a community level with your tribe. Here I'm trying to do that locally as well. Is like, how can I include my own community here locally, physically, into creating something better? So I'm researching a lot on social entrepreneurship. There's and see, I read. Here's the thing: there's books, but there's also real life, and you can learn. Like when you talked about biography, and it was like I couldn't really like. As far as a book, remember which one I read, but Right now I'm researching a lot of people that inspire me. Like here locally in the east coast of Canada is that woman called Zita Cobb, and she's doing great things on Fogo Island in Newfoundland, and she's pretty much revived that whole community. And
Okay.
she's a multimillionaire tech entrepreneur, and she put $10 million into a charity that she's running, and she's running community projects through that charity. And I did a lot of research on her background and the way she builds that. And I pretty much like what I would have read through a book. Let's say I wish she had a book. She doesn't have a book, but everything I read, like listen to her videos and the presentation, the keynotes, and things like that. So I feel like I know as much, if not more, than let's say I was reading a book. So that's the way I kind of go.
Is she
Like,
from the East Coast as well?
yeah, she's from Fogo Island, Newfoundland.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay,
she
okay.
she she made her money on the West Coast. She made her money in Alberta, I think,
Oh,
and
wow.
then came back. And she has the way they structure their charity. It's a charity, but the goal of the charity is to start and fund community projects. So for the community, but she brings they've built like called, if you go check it out, the Inn. It's a hotel. It's a high end hotel on Fogo Island, which is a small island on the north,
I think
in
I saw
northern
that on your
Newfoundland.
Instagram profile, maybe, or
Yes,
on
I
one.
did share.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I'm a big fan of what she's building as a model. I think it's just so smart. It's innovative. It's yeah. There's that book called Conscious Capitalism as well, and I read some of the pages, but I don't. I'm going to read it. I'm going to take it out and start reading it again. But it's about that. But it's about, I think, it's the founder of Whole Foods. But I think Whole Foods went different. Well, they sold to Amazon. But I want to see like if they're really. I think it's a younger, like a book that was more early on in the Whole Foods. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't remember much about the book. But I think it's about social, like how about putting social spin, if you want, to capitalism. So
one of the
there's a book hold on, there's a book that I can't wait to read. And sorry, go ahead. I'm going to do the research because I don't remember the title.
well, just based on the Tony Hsieh model that you were saying, one of the latest books that's come out, latest by I mean, like in the past 3 or 4 years, that I really enjoyed, that really focuses on the customer, is Joey Coleman's "Never Lose a Customer Again." And if you want a good combination of principles and tactics, I
Yeah.
like all of the guys that I coach that are doing the online business thing. I recommend that book for them. I think it's super super important. And his whole philosophy is like, if you just think back to every person that has bought your product and imagine that you were able to retain them as customers, like how much better off would you be? And so that's his whole principle, or his whole philosophy behind "Never Lose a Customer Again." I mean, it was Tony Hsieh that really brought it to the forefront and really emphasized the fact that customers are the lifeblood of your business. It's not just about making that first sale. And I think it was Dan Kennedy who said back in the day, where it's a lot easier to sell to a repeat customer than it is to go out and try to find a new customer. So
Mm-hmm.
Joey Coleman's book, going further on what Tony Hsieh was saying, is like, this is how you do it. These are the processes that I use within my business, and how I consult with bigger companies to show you how to retain a customer and how to keep that customer happy, so that they'll be your customer for life. So I found that book was really, really influential in how I run my autoresponders and my customer contact, and kind of like what Yuri was saying, we're about scaling the unscalable.
I think this is, I think, like a good lesson here is that you can have books that you read for, like, mindset or ideas, things like that. But there's books that are just practical that you can
Mm-hmm.
just read and say, like, I can apply that right now. You know what I mean? And there's all like, I still read Russell Brunson's books like all the time. I
Yeah.
just browse through them.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at .com Secrets, for example, basic online marketing, direct response type of book.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, the most simple, easy to read, digestible online marketing book.
For sure.
Super easy. And sometimes, like, I'm reading Traffic Secrets now, it's a book on traffic. And
Yeah.
same thing, like
Yeah.
simple concepts, but he doesn't reinvent the wheel. They're not so secret, secrets. But they're the essential. It's what you need to do, and you can turn it around and go as fancy as you want or whatever. It's still what you need to do. The three main sources of traffic and how to get them, and it's highly practical. I like that. I think these type of books, highly practical books, like should be part of your arsenal. Where I don't know, like I'm curious. I'm curious about listening to or hearing about the listeners and their reading habits. Are they more like cover to cover type of readers, or just like me, who would just pick a book and look at different parts? And I think like, and the ones who read Done by Noon too, did they read it like cover to cover, or they just pick, different parts and use like some of the tools that we provide? That's the way I wanted to, I pretty much, when I wrote Done by Noon, it was, I had like, okay, if that was me reading it and having access to it, how would I want to implement it? I was like, yeah, there needs to be like the right amount of, mindset, strategy, things like that, but also like some tactics that are highly practical that people can see like how to use, and then support documents as well that are highly practical, because I don't want to read like tons of lines and not having to practice it or understand it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the way that I
Well,
build,
that's
and that's why.
I find that that's the most important thing with reading. And you touched on this at the beginning of the podcast, where I find like a lot of people, they distract themselves by reading too much and then never applying anything. But what you're
Yeah.
reading and the knowledge you acquire is only going to be as good as you're able to apply it. And so,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I've been doing lately is I've been reading a fiction book, and then I will read that. Like, I'll take the whole month and take the notes that I need to and everything, and then apply it the next month while I read a nonfiction book, or the other way around, read a nonfiction book and then read a fiction book to entertain me while I'm applying everything that I learned in the nonfiction book.
That's
Because
true.
otherwise, you can, like, I mean, there are so many people that are out there bragging that they're reading 52 books a year, but like, what are you doing with all of that? Like, can you do everything you need to do
Oh man, it's
by
such
reading a
bullshit.
book a week? Like, does that really
Ty
make a lot of sense?
Lopez.
You're not doing anything with the knowledge that you're acquiring. Like, otherwise it's just another form of distraction.
Like fucking Ty Lopez reading a book a day. Fuck you, man.
You know what I love more
You're
than my Lamborghini, Dave?
Yeah. No, you know what he did? Like he bought like, he had like bookshelves and just bought like a shitload of books and just put it there. Never, I don't know. Probably read the back cover. I don't know, man. I can't see, like, honestly, like if you're a high level entrepreneur, like reading a book a day, like I don't, maybe they have reading superpowers, but I'm pretty sure he does not. It's just, come on, it's not doable. And who cares if you can't, as you said, if you can't apply it? Like for me, I don't know. I don't see the value, of now, especially like with knowledge available right now at your fingertips. Like you just go on the Google machine and just type whatever you want and get the answers.
Yeah,
Like I don't see the need for reading massive, like clogging your brain with massive amount of information you're never going to be implementing.
exactly.
Like I don't
Yeah.
know, but it depends on your mindset, I guess. It's just in time and just in case type of people. I'm a hardcore just in time. Like I'm going to learn something if I really need something to learn, or that I'm really curious about. Like
Yeah.
for example, I do some weird readings about genealogy and like bootlegging in the Maritimes and like doing Prohibition era. Like I kind of like obsessed with that time, and I read about it just for fun and pleasure, but not like. But other than that, like I don't. Yeah, I would be just in time.
Well,
By the way,
I'm still a big
sorry, go
strength and
ahead.
fitness geek, so I'm still reading fitness books, and I my guilty pleasure right now is getting my hands on like old time strongman or old Russian
Mm,
strength and conditioning journals and stuff like that, and reading the translations. Like that's kind of my guilty pleasure right now with what I'm reading, but that's purely out of interest. It has nothing to do with business. I mean, I do run like a part of my business is fitness as well, so I'll read that out of pure interest and see how I can apply it to some of my subscribers. But other than that, I mean, that's kind of my guilty pleasure right now.
yeah,
I lead.
it's yeah. And it depends on your style too. I mean, there's some guys like in our industry who are going to read like a lot of science,
Yeah.
science book about the science of business. I mean, I ran a fitness business for many years, and it's I never was interested in the science of it that much. I was always interested in the practicality of it.
Yeah.
Like, is this practical? Like, is this safe? Like, is this exercise, for example, safe? Okay, but is this practical? I don't need to understand the leverage mechanics of it all. You know what I mean? I was like, what I want to see is like, is it going to be what is it going to be providing for results, and what is it going to do for me? You know, and that's always the way I approach. That's the way I approach life in general. You know, you're never going to see me quote some. You know, if you read Done by Noon, you know, yeah, I don't. You know, there's some obviously there's it's science based, but it's not based on interpreting the science all the time. It's just like, hey, you know, science backs it up in some ways, like where you have this, but this is what you need to understand from it and apply. You know, it needs to be practical.
Yep.
Yeah. Before, like one last thing before we go, I was researching the name of the book because I ordered it and I haven't received it yet, so I haven't read it. But I know the story about that is Worth It by Dan Price. Dan Price is the guy who cut his CEO salary from $1 million to 70K, and he raised the minimum salary in his business at Gravity Payments to 70K. And somehow, I don't know Dan personally, but we've been Facebook friends for years. So I don't know if he added me or I added him. I don't know how it happens, but we're Facebook friends. And I saw he was at Cologne surfing last time
Oh,
in
really?
Costa Rica. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was there. And I remember because I was doing a Facebook Live and I just chatted with him quickly. But again, I don't know the guy. I would love to know the guy. But I really like what he was doing, like his approach to happiness, his employees' happiness, how, you know, understanding that for him, like, why was he paying himself $1 million a month where when some of his employees were struggling, you know, and he saw like, and what he was saying is that what he saw is that a lot of people, for example, like because they bumped up to 70K, they bumped them up to minimum 70K, they were able to get like houses closer to their workplace. They were able to get some more vacations. They were happier. They were more, and then they were more productive. Their retention went up as well, and all these things. So it's the way he did that, and he built a book called Worth It. So I guess it was really worth it for him. But it's fun to see like that type. It's more the type of mentality and the type of ways of doing business that I really like about that. You know, some people might not jive with it 100%. You know, it's like, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But
That's
for me,
such a good.
but that's the part of social, like also the part of social entrepreneurship that I like. You know, it's not about just external; it could be internal, and this is good. We're going to be. I'm going to read that, and we're going to bring it back to essential reading because we're going to bring essential reading.
Okay, you know what? I'll pick that up on Kindle as well, and I'll read it, and then yeah, you and I can do our takes on it.
I I ordered it from his website. I ordered a signed copy because
Okay. Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, I don't know the guy, so that's the thing. I don't know the guy, so I can tell you like personally if he's like a really cool guy. He looks like a cool guy from the outside,
Okay.
but I really like what he's trying to do here. So I will read it and we'll review it. But it's fun. I like that. But it's a cool way. Like, and if you guys have like books that you've read and you would like to share with us, and we'll, if I haven't read it, we can read it. But it's all about bringing knowledge and the practicality of the
Knowledge.
there. You cannot, yeah, I think you cannot say knowledge without saying knowledge or saying garage. It's like, yeah, it's like, honey, what are you doing? I'm going to the garage.
To get some knowledge.
Oh, yeah, keeping my books in the garage. Oh well, cool, man.
Yeah, man.
All right. I like this. What are you going to read next? So tell me what's your next book?
So right now I'm reading The Overstory. The Overstory is a fiction book that was recommended to me. It's a funny story behind it, but so Roseanne, my wife, has been bugging me to read it. It won the Pulitzer Prize in 2018, and I just started it, and I haven't like. I was like, so I was like, yeah, honey, I'll get to that. I'll get to that. She's like, no, you really should read it. This was in 2018. And then finally, Andre told me that he was reading it and that I should read it. So I was like, hey, babe, do you have the Overstory? Andre said that I should read it. And she's just like, you son of a bitch. You listen to him and you don't listen to me? Like, what? So that's what I'm reading right now.
Yeah, you can win this one. Yeah. All right, my friend. Have a good week, and we'll keep sharing these books with you guys over time. So,
Yeah.
I like that. All right, my friends. And again, if you want a free Done by Noon book, you can go to donebynoonpodcast.com/free book. Grab a free copy. Tell me what you think. If you think it's shit, tell me it's shit. If you think it's good, tell me it's good. Love to hear you. All right, Christopher. I'll talk to you next week, my friend.
Thank you, my good friend. Thank you for having me again. Thank you to everybody for listening. Pick up the book. Make sure you grab that copy for you and give us all the feedback you need to give us.
All right. Take care, Chris.
You have just listened to the Done by Noon podcast. If you are interested in hearing more, do not hesitate to subscribe to our channel. Click on the 5 stars or check out our free tools and trainings at donebynoonpodcast.com. Thanks again for listening and stay awesome. We'll see you next time.